Hello everyone, I'm Father Andrian, and in this video I'm going to explain comparative literature and the global languagescape. Migration and the distributability of language. When people move, their languages move with them, and this is not a matter of choice from a linguistic point of view. Then migration can be imagined as the distribution of linguistic competencies, something that is happening now on the planet on an unprecedented range and scale. Migration inevitably disrupts the forms and institutional arrangements of the receiving society or community, and the multilingualism it poses some of the biggest challenges, most conspicuously in courts and school systems. Reducing linguistic friction is one of the main reasons migration often retraces all lines of colonial power, as Ecuadorians migrate to Spain, Bolivians to Argentina, Surinamese to the Netherlands, North Africans to France and Spain, Haitians to Quebec, South Asians to Britain, and so on. Language is imagined as kind of self-regulating markets. Supply will meet demand. But such an image is misleading because language learning only takes place under certain conditions and happens in the degree those conditions are made. Acquiring linguistic competence is neither automatic nor easy. As a student of comparative literature vividly know. Language learning, even of your first language, requires five things in abundance: time, effort, desire, input, and opportunities for use. To the extent that the elements for language learning are distributable and governable, then language acquisition is anything but spontaneous and natural. As human mobility increases, control over the access to particular language competencies sustains hierarchies of privileged and unprivileged. Immigrant populations tend to be highly aware of the distributability of linguistic competence and how it affects their lives. Where immigrants encounter restricted access to languages of power, they also often encounter impediments to sustaining the languages they bring with them. Nation states have a centralizing logic. They find no rationale for an open ended cultivation of languages coming from faraway places. Hence, the familiar paradigm of language loss. The first generation born in the new place speaks their parents uh, speaks their parents language well, but only read or write it if special effort has been made. The second generation understands well, but uses the language comfortably only in limited ways. By the third generation, competence is very reduced. Linguistic landscapes are being transformed uh, today through yet another kind of redistribution, language loss. The rapid and unprecedented process of language loss is a main reason that nobody knows what the world will look like linguistically 100 years from now. Language loss occurs when some or all of those five key elements, time, effort, motivation, input, use, stop being available to the older and younger community members between whom the language must pass. That can only happen in the context of dramatic upheaval in social and material life, such as the unprecedented disruption of land-based life ways as industrial enterprises have invaded forests, highlands, and rural regions of all kinds. Language is an endless instrument of creativity and play, and people exploit those resources every minute of the day. To the extent that it is driven by desire, language is ungovernable. It will jump any borders placed around it and transgress prohibitions with gusto. Humor most of the time consists in such transgression. In the global languagescape, New forms of linguistic distribution are in play. In electronic form, any language can travel anywhere, anytime. With access to tools, anyone can appropriate, broadcast, download, study any language they want for any purpose they want without asking permission. There's no one to ask. Languages can, at least so far, be patented. As today's diasporic citizenry know, satellite televisions, email, internet telephone have transformed the linguistic face of migrant experience and altered the relation of migrancy to home. Interpretation and the operation of lingua franca. Interpretation and the operation of lingua francas both depend on another aspect of human language that, like distributability, is so fundamental, it is easily overlooked that the enormously expensive power of comprehension. When you know a language, your ability to understand utterances in that language is far greater in range and more elastic than your ability to produce utterances. You can understand a great deal more than you can say. In other words, human language capability is skewed toward comprehension. That is why all of us can understand all kinds of things we will never say. All kinds of speakers wouldn't speak our languages the way we do, or who speak them partially or imperfectly, or who speak in registers we don't possess. The expansive power of comprehension makes interpretation possible. Interpre Interpreters can comprehend a wide range of speech in the source language, and their speech can be comprehended by a wide range of hearers in the target language. The elasticity of comprehension also makes lingua francas able to be franca users with widely differing accents, degrees, and ranges of expertise can still communicate with each other, as you might witness in a courtroom or hearing a group of tourists from different countries speaking together in English. Such is the asymmetry between production and comprehension that it is possible to understand perfectly a language you can barely speak at all. Some readers of this chapter may attest to that fact. Speaking and understanding are asymmetrical in another way too. Comprehension is involuntary in ways that speech is not. A person can choose or refuse to speak, but the ability to withhold comprehension is extremely limited. If you hear an utterance in a language you know, it is nearly impossible to choose not to decipher it. The decoding happens automatically. Uh, that's the end of my presentation in this video. Thank you.